Your dog just walked past a perfectly flat, perfectly comfortable bed. Then they found a spot on the carpet, walked in 3 tight circles, pawed at the ground twice, turned around once more, and flopped down. You watched the whole thing like it made sense, and then you kept watching TV. But here's what just happened. In the roughly 8 seconds it took your dog to complete that ritual, they ran a survival program that is somewhere between 15,000 and 40,000 years old. A program that was designed not for your living room carpet, but for tall grass, open terrain, and the real possibility of something trying to kill them while they slept. And the fact that your dog still runs it every single night on a memory foam bed surrounded by central heating, that's not a quirk. That's one of the most fascinating examples of evolutionary stubbornness in any animal alive. So let's talk about what's actually happening. The obvious answer, when you first think about it, is comfort. They're just getting comfortable, like a human fluffing a pillow. And look, that's not entirely wrong, but it's also the least interesting part of the story, and it misses about 4 layers of what that spin is actually doing. Because if it were purely about comfort, you'd expect dogs to spin more on soft, lumpy, uneven surfaces and less on smooth ones. And in 2016, a psychologist at the University of British Columbia decided to actually test that. He took 62 dogs and had them lie down on one of 2 surfaces, either a flat, smooth carpet or a thick, uneven shag rug with lumps and wrinkles deliberately left in it. Then he just watched. On the smooth surface, 1 in 5 dogs circled before lying down. On the uneven surface, more than half did, nearly 3 times as many. Several of those dogs also pawed and dug at the surface before circling. None of the smooth surface dogs did that at all. So the nesting instinct is real, but the question is, where did it come from and why does it run so deep that even a dog who sleeps on the same bed every night still feels the pull to do it? Go back 15,000 years minimum. A population of wolves somewhere in Eurasia has started spending time near human campsites. Not because they were tamed, because the friendliest ones, the ones least likely to bolt, got more food. And over generations, those wolves became something new. The first dogs. And they slept on the ground. Not on beds, not on rugs, on grass, on snow, on leaf litter, on whatever patch of earth they'd chosen for the night. And before they lay down, they worked the spot. They trampled the tall grass flat. They drove out insects with their feet. They tested the ground for rocks and sticks and anything that would press into their ribs for the next 8 hours. And then, and this is the part most people don't know, they oriented themselves. Wildlife biologists who study modern wolves have documented that wolves don't just circle randomly. They circle to find the wind. A sleeping animal is a vulnerable animal, and a wolf's nose is its early warning system. By circling, a wolf could determine which direction the air was moving and position itself so its nose faced into it, so that even while unconscious, any approaching scent would reach it first. A predator coming from downwind, another pack, anything. Your dog doesn't need to do any of this. There are no predators, the temperature is controlled, the grass is imaginary, but the program runs anyway, because 15,000 years of domestic life is a short time against however many hundreds of thousands of years that behavior was being selected for. This is what scientists call evolutionary inertia, a trait that once kept animals alive, persisting long after the environment that required it disappeared. Your dog isn't spinning because they're confused about where they are. They're spinning because their brain still hasn't quite accepted that the living room isn't the step. Now here's where it gets useful to actually know this, because for most dogs, most of the time, the spin is just the spin. 2 or 3 rotations, a settle, done. Normal, healthy, ancestral. But if you ever notice your dog suddenly circling far more than usual, more rotations, longer to settle, seeming to struggle to actually get down, pay attention. In older dogs especially, that shift can be one of the first visible signs of something worth investigating. Arthritis makes it painful to find a position and commit to it. Hip dysplasia does the same. And in senior dogs, a condition called canine cognitive dysfunction, which functions almost like dementia, can cause restless, repetitive circling that looks just like the normal pre-sleep spin, but isn't. The dog isn't preparing to rest. They're disoriented.
The behavior looks identical from the outside. The difference is in the pattern. A dog who can't settle, who circles longer than usual, who seems stiff when they finally do lie down, that's the signal version, not the habit version, and it tends to show up before any other physical symptom does. Knowing that the spin exists for a reason means you can notice when the reason has changed. So the next time your dog walks past the perfectly good bed, finds a spot on the carpet, and starts their little rotation, you're not watching a quirk. You're watching 15,000 years of survival programming play out in your living room. A wolf brain running a perimeter check on terrain that isn't there, orienting a nose toward a wind that isn't blowing, flattening grass that was replaced by carpet decades before your dog was even born. The bed was fine, it was always fine, but the spin isn't really about the bed. It's about the fact that somewhere in your dog's memory, not their personal memory, but the deep genetic one, sleep is still the most vulnerable thing they do, and they want to make sure they've earned it. That's not a quirk. That's loyalty to something very old. If this changed how you see your dog, subscribe and tell us in the comments, how many circles does yours do?